Good morning, YouTube. It is Sunday, July 3rd, 2022, 4:34 a.m. Sorry my last video got cut off. Not that I was going anywhere interesting in it, but it got cut off. So I had a seat at that there bus stop and actually went through some of my videos and went to the descriptions and made sure that I had the times posted in the descriptions, and I went ahead and deleted them off the SD card so I got room to record more. And had a funny thing happen while I was sitting here working on that. I heard some guy shouting and screaming about somebody stealing his bicycle, and then he came by and he was obviously spun out of his fucking mind. And so apparently one drug addict stole another drug addict's BMX bicycle. And I'm like, nope, didn't see any bicycle. I'm not really paying attention to bicycles. And he's like, something. And I was just like, nothing good ever comes out of an adult nothing good ever comes from an adult man on a BMX bicycle. He just kind of gave me a look and then walked off. But let's face it, if you're an adult man and you're riding a BMX bicycle at after between 4 and 5 a.m. in Phoenix, Arizona, you're a fucking meth head. I feel bad for the guy. Somebody stole his stolen bike, but seriously, get a fucking life, dude. Anyway, I think that's Venus in the sky right there, because the stars really aren't that visible right now. Or maybe that's Venus. I don't see it in the viewfinder. Maybe that's Venus. I don't know. Usually Venus is easy to pick out. It's a bright yellow one. But that one looks kind of bright and yellow, and that one looks kind of bright and yellow. At any rate, as you can see, the sun is starting to come up. It's not really coming up. There's a bit of a glow on the eastern horizon. And when that last video cut off, I was talking about how I used to work for Phoenix Flower Shop. Now, granted, I only worked for them for 2 days doing deliveries, and they weren't consecutive days. I was just there for surge days. I did a Valentine's Day, and then I did the following Mother's Day, and I think both of those are before I started doing these vlogs. Valentine's Day went really good, but the following Mother's Day, it was rather hot out, and I was having problems with my bins, and the air conditioning wasn't working very good, and it started stalling out, and they were kind of upset because you kind of got to have working air conditioning when you're delivering flowers, and you certainly can get stranded with all these flowers are trying to get delivered on Mother's Day, which is an insanely busy day. And yeah, I did have some that were kind of starting to wilt, and I got them back here, and we rushed them back into the cooler in hopes we could kind of save them. I mean, I did the best I could, but I came back, I got my check, and I haven't come here seeking work since. And to be fair, I don't think I've, since they've had busy days since, I don't think I've had a working vehicle. Mother's Day was a couple months ago. Valentine's Day is in February. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back this Valentine's Day if the Saturn's working good and I don't have anything better to do. I can't complain. I feel like Phoenix Flower Shops paid me really good for the amount of work that I did on the days that I did drive for them, and I really enjoyed it. But anyway, as I was explaining in the last video before I got cut off, they had a fire here. And I wish I had some pictures of what it was like before, but they had this whole, where you see this whole green fence, that's all their property there, and they had storage, basically storage facilities here, storage things, and then they've got their nice storefront here, which is an old school brick building. But as you can see, it's only windows to a certain point, and then you got 4 spaces where they should be windows to the right of the door, and there used to be windows, there used to be a showroom there, but now it's just wood. We still got the the canopy in the brick building. But as I was trying to show in the last video before I ran out of space, if you walk over here, you can see that whole area, that's actually now, it used to be building. I've been in that building, but as you can see, it's a false front. It's literally just a wall. It's a brick wall. There's boards covering the windows, but it's just merely a wall. They've since put a wall on that edge of the building, and maybe that wall was already there. And the rest of it, they just tore down. So it's just empty yard, empty space, empty wall there. I'm glad they're still in business. Most flower shops didn't survive the pandemic, and at least Phoenix Flower Shops is still kicking. And I got nothing but good stuff to say about Phoenix Flower Shops. They're a good business that's been around for a long time. Their flowers are beautiful. The people that do the arrangements are really talented, and Now, granted, it's been cut in half, but as you can see, their showroom is really beautiful, and there's nothing fake there. That's all real. That's all real flowers, and what they got there will probably actually, that might be a silk display, but the ones they sell, they're definitely real, and they do beautiful arrangements here, and they do delivery. But on a normal day, you know, their staff handles the few deliveries they do. The only time that they need extra delivery drivers, and it becomes a pretty big operation, is on Mother's Day and Valentine's Day. What the fuck is going on here? Wow, that was a person. Anyway, wow, I don't even have words there. I forget what the name of this apartment complex was, but it has changed names. I got a brand new shiny lit up sign called NOLA, which tells me that their rent probably just got jumped way up. Can only imagine what that place is charging for rent now. This is a pretty in-demand part of town, and friends I have that have apartments in this area have had their rents in the last year jump anywhere from $200 to $600, some even more. And another thing's happened to a lot of people that have apartments in this part of town is they've been told they have to vacate at the end of their lease because they're renovating and it's going to be luxury apartments. And it's kind of funny, like the next complex I'm coming on, which is coming up, which is the one where my last fling, Crystal, lives. I don't know if she still lives there. There's been absolutely no contact between her and I since, I don't know, the day after that ended bad. As, you know, look at vlogs from about 2 months ago. You can see how that all went down. I never did get to read the crazy, insane text messages that she gave me because those were on Obama phone number 1, which I last saw in the office of U Store. I'm convinced I left it in that office and some unscrupulous person snagged it the next day. But don't miss the hardware. I do miss access to the phone number. I still don't have access to my phone number. I met a guy yesterday morning that said he was going to kick me down. I don't know, he made a lot of promises, and I don't think he's going to follow through on any of them. He said he was going to give me a couple old iPhones he was planning on throwing away, but I'm not holding my breath for that. Anyway, I really should try to find myself another cheap-ass phone, since the iPhone 6s Plus 128 gig that I bought was clearly not unlocked and is now misplaced, and I'm not having much luck finding it. All right, although I'm not spending much time looking for it, I'm just here wandering around. Anyway, as I was mentioning, these are the apartments that where Crystal was living, and newly renovated interiors, 24-hour fitness center. It says Arcadia on 49th, luxury apartments. And the architecture of this building is actually really common architecture you see all over Phoenix. And what this architecture used to be synonymous with, maybe I can get by the gate so you can get a better look at it, was a bunch of apartments that went under the name of Warren House. Now, I don't think I've seen any with the name Warren House since like the late 1990s. But Warren House used to be, if you arrived in Phoenix with nothing but the clothes on your back, or you just got out of prison, or whatever, and you're just kind of starting over, or you're 18 and you decided that you're tired of living under your parents' rule and home or whatever, like you go to Warren House, and yeah, they almost all have 3 floors with floors that look like that, and this architecture is just very, when you've seen this, you've seen this. But yeah, Warren House used to be, you could rent them by the week, you could rent them by the month. They were furnished with really meager furniture, and it used to be, I forget what it was, but as I remember, I used to be able to get a studio at a Warren House for about, $600 a month, and it, all utilities included, but they're dumpy little places. And on an interesting side note about those, my daughter, before her and her boyfriend moved to Oregon, were living in an apartment complex that was formerly a Warren House, exactly the same architecture as that. Same on the outside. Now, granted, like in Crystal's apartment was damn nice on the inside, so I will give the landlord credit. They're doing a nice job with the interiors of those places. But I mean, it's still the same building, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it's cinder block. God knows that all the new builds are just, sticks and stucco. So, but yeah, like the one my daughter and her boyfriend lived in was like super dumpy on the inside, but it was also a lot cheaper. But yeah, that place that gets signs says luxury apartments. It's funny because I can remember that being like cheap furnished. You can rent it by the week without having a utility bill if you have absolutely no credit and you have evictions. Like it's a step up from living in a hotel. And now they're luxury apartments. But I believe some of the people there have been had their leases terminated and had to vacate so they can remodel them and make them luxury apartments. And the crazy thing is people are moving from other cities and they're willing to pay that much for rent. It's pretty freaking crazy. Anyway, I don't even remember what the hell I was talking about before I ran out of space. I just realized I was right next to Phoenix Flowers and wanted to kind of talk about how they had the fire and how they've downsized their property and their building to stay in business, and how half of what was the front of their building is now just a brick wall false front, which is interesting because false fronts are not such a common thing these days. Looks like we got somebody sleeping on the bus stop. Two somebodies. Good times. I should really be at home, but I was worried if I go home, I'm lay down and fall asleep. Anyway, I'm going to go in here to Circle K, get my sip and save. Oh, I can smell it. It's a very distinctive smell of burning fentanyl. That's what's been going on at that bus stop. Oh, it's kind of synonymous with Phoenix these days, just the smell of burning fentanyl. It's killing the Phoenix homeless population, but let's be honest, it's not killing them fast enough. Anyway, I'm going into Circle K, getting myself a drink. I'm probably not going to quit resuming because I've definitely overshared today, but just kind of got in an argument with a good friend of mine on Snapchat, and I showed the keys that she stole from my home and left at the bar, which is like my keychain that I paid for, my picture that I paid for, and a keychain that I took a trip with my daughter to Houston to get, and the key, which is my key to my apartment, to my mailbox. Woman is not on the lease. And yeah, she brought that to the bar and left it there. And I took a picture of it and I posted it on Snapchat, and I said, wow, this is what the actual fuck. She stole my keys and left them at the bar. And he actually messaged me and said, well, I don't think she stole them. Dude, she fucking stole them. Like, what? I mean, she accidentally left them. She should have never had them. I mean, I can kind of get her going to the mailbox and checking the mail. Put them back on the shelf where you found them. Why would you bring that to the bar? What the actual fuck? And, I mean, how sus is it that when I show up at the bar at 11 p.m., she immediately sneaks out the back door and leaves? Yeah, it's pretty shady. That's pretty shady. And I'm telling him about, just the stuff I'm frustrated with. And he's like, well, you said you guys aren't really together anymore. And I'm like, yeah, we're really not. So, but she's still in my place. He's like, well, she doesn't have a curfew or anything. Why are you worried about that? I'm like, because she's fucking trashed my place. I sent him some pictures of the mess. It's like, that's fine. If she doesn't want to be with me, that's fine. She needs to not be with me, not in my home. Get the fuck out. She needs to get the fuck out. Anyway, he didn't answer after I sent him the last couple messages, so hopefully I didn't burn another bridge with another friend. But that's the problem you have when you're in a long-term relationship, is so many people become friends with both of you, and then it becomes a situation where, everybody got to choose sides. Who do they like better, him or her? And yeah, she's a lot more likable than I am, but and whatever. But it is what it is. I mean, shit, I went through the same thing with my divorce, and I even had, at the beginning, the bulk of my own family. So on my ex-wife's side, based on her false allegations, saying I tried to kill her and saying that I abused her, they wouldn't even come get my ass out of jail when my bond was only $500, because they were worried about it. And granted, I mean, God knows what they heard and what they were thinking, but over time, people came to realize that Daniela was fucking just spinning a tale and was doing some fucking dastardly shit. And meanwhile, I was homeless and trying to survive the fact that I'd have everything I own stolen from me, you know, including my child and my car and my home and my livelihood. So, you know, and all's well that ends well, because I'm here walking around Phoenix and she's burning in hell.